I'd been working with a builder on 4 or 5 projects, and he suddenly upped and left. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because often we do focus on the bad, don't we? I distinctly remember this little girl on the street. She can't have been 2. And she had no clothes on, just a nappy. And
guys, welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur Insights. This week's guest, we have Carol Niels, and she's going to talk about her business to you and explain how she started and where she is right now. Please welcome Carol Niels. I hope I got your name right, Carol.
It's fine, Peter. As long as you don't want to do an enema with me, then we're all fine. Everything's going to be perfect.
Carol, how are you doing, first of all? You good?
I am absolutely fantastic. It's really, really good to be here. I'm very grateful that you invited me to talk to you tonight. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Carol, explain to us, first of all, what is your business?
So my business is a turnkey property investment company.
Mm-hmm.
So we work with and for investors. We use their money to buy property, which we predominantly these days use to buy properties for our supported living social housing clients and what we call tenant buyer clients. So we do what we call impact investing, because as you know, it's incredibly difficult these days for people to buy their own home. And there's also a massive shortage of property for homeless and vulnerable people. And we work pretty much anywhere in the UK, but we have done a lot of investing in South and West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester.
Okay, so let's take you back a bit then. Did you do this straight from school or straight from...
Oh my gosh, no.
So how did you get into what you do?
Because I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I love being around people. I'm not really into the paperwork side of things. And I like being a solution orientated person. You know, if somebody's got a problem, I love to sort it out. So I did that and absolutely loved it. Really, really loved it.
Okay. Tell us about one of your first projects that could have went bad or could have went good and how you probably turned it around.
So many of them.
Well,
so many of them.
We only need to know about one of them.
No, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because often we do focus on the bad, don't we?
Yeah.
But one of the really interestingly bad things that went good for me was in 2018-19. I'd been working with a builder on 4 or 5 projects, and he suddenly upped and left. And we were in the middle of the projects. And that cost me personally a lot of money because only one of those 4 projects was mine. The other 3 belonged to clients. So I found the money to pay the difference, because if you work with tradespeople, they don't want to come in and just literally take over somebody else's project. They want to start again from scratch. And you can understand that because they're liable and responsible for the compliance.
Yep.
And that cost me over 70 grand personally, because my contract was with the builder and the client.
Mm-hmm.
And so I upheld the contract. And whilst that was a really painful exercise for me, what actually happened was that I met my new builder.
There you go.
And he has been like a gift from God. He has been the most superb person to work.
Oh, she got a glitch.
Trustworthy, human, reliable. Yeah, amazing. So whilst it might have cost me a lot of money, I've got a lot from it, and that's really good. And I said to you, I do supported living. Quite a lot of my projects are around the supported living sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite involved with some of the charities and clients that I work with. You know, I like to know the staff. I like to know their values. I'm a guardian at a charity in Bolton who look after 18 to 24-year-olds. I've helped with a charity in Manchester that look after homeless people. I just moved back to Worcester, and I'm getting involved with a local charity here.
Some of these people are going to know, where the hell are these places she's talking about? But
I know, but if you're from the south, you've no idea. But if you're from the north, you know everywhere.
Yeah.
And the thing that always strikes me is, I remember a million years ago, I was working for some company selling water filters. Because we all do weird things, don't we? And I distinctly remember this little girl on the street. She can't have been 2. And she had no clothes on, just a nappy. And I remember that nappy being green. And I remember there were 2 women in a house drinking beer by the window. And that vision has stayed with me forever.
Okay.
And I wonder if that's kind of at the back of my mind when I'm working with the supported living providers, because I feel like the older we get, because, if you think about it, think about all the parish councils and places like that. Everybody says, oh God, it's the old people doing that. But it's when you get older, you realize, and you're more aware, you have more empathy and more compassion. And you realize about all the injustices there are in society.
And you do. But I don't think I would have changed that child's nappy. I think that would have killed us.
No, it wasn't that. I think it was just, I wanted to take that child away and put her in a home that was safe and secure, where people loved and cared for her. I don't think it was about that. It was just the fact that you felt like this was somebody who had all the odds stacked against them. How were they going to succeed in society? They'd have to be a really strong person to break the barriers of what they've been born into.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many people like that, and there is such a stigma in society about people who are in a different situation to ourselves. People who are homeless, people who are drug addicts, people who start robbing. But if you ever look back at these people have been in prison. A lot of them are good people who've done a bad thing. And if we, in my business, can't help those people, then they don't have any chance. Because there aren't enough resources here to help them. So I feel like I've been given a fantastic opportunity to be afforded to be involved in the property industry. And through being involved in that, I have met the most incredible human beings who have just had a bit of bad luck. And with help, they can turn their lives around.
Tell us something about how you managed to change someone's life and turn it around.
Do you know what, though? To be fair, we don't always know that we've done that.
Okay.
Because you're working in groups, you're working with charities, you're working with housing associations, you're working with special teams of people.
Okay.
So you don't really know that you have personally helped, because I don't take them on a one-to-one. What I do is I say, support your charity. I will, like a charity was running their Christmas event and they needed security to manage the building for 7 days while it was open over Christmas. So I used my contacts and resources. I find property that can house vulnerable people, be that people who are drug addicts from prison, learning difficulties, homelessness. I mean, so many ways. It's really, really rewarding, to be fair. But it's a challenging space because you've got too many people in it that want to make lots of money and they don't always have the heart, at the center of what they're doing.
How long have you been going then? How long has your particular business been running?
So I started in property about 20 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, I always loved property. When my daughter was really, really young, I used to take her out on drives. I mean, the poor child, it must have been so boring for her. And we just used to go around the countryside looking at things, and I would find these old, horrible buildings.
And then say,
I'd say, oh, that's going to be your new home.
Right,
and I think she thought it was going to be some kind of punishment where you went where you were naughty.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always been something I've been passionate about. I do think it's a British thing, though, that people are really interested in property. Unfortunately, there's a big stigma within society about property investing, which is really unfortunate, because the majority of people I know, they do good. You know, they're not all here for the honest land.
What is the stigma? What is the stigma attached to property? Because I've never heard of it.
Because people, if you ever were to say to somebody that you're a landlord, you know, society views you as some kind of a parasite. Right. Which sadly isn't true. There are a lot more good people than there are bad.
Okay. So tell me the next adventure for your business. Where would you like it to go? What would you like to do? And who's your ideal customer?
My ideal customer. I have different kinds of things, though. So like right now, I'm working on a development of converting a pub to 9 flats. Okay. And we hope to let that or sell it to a supported living provider, be that private or council run, so that we can provide nice homes for vulnerable people, that they can stay there forever. And, you know, they don't have to worry. And we were approached by a charity who helps people with autism. So that would be absolutely great if that would happen, because they can then stay there forever. It can be prepared for them. And you know that they're safe, because people with neurodiversion needs, they need security and stability. So that would be good. Yeah, what I would really like is that to be able to reach, you know, 1 million people housed in safe and secure accommodation by the time I give up work. I mean, that just would be amazing.
That's not for now, though. You're not giving up work now. You've got a long way to go.
No. What would I do? I mean, my goodness me, I'd be bored.
Yeah. What about for the elderly? Were you ever thought about making homes for the elderly?
Yeah, absolutely. Because society has sadly created these horrible institutions in the main for older people. And really, you know, people are not like they used to be. So what we really want are some kind of gym palaces for all the older people now, really, with health clubs and
that would be great.
Outside space, you know, places that they can be together to connect, share hobbies and things like that. People don't want to be in institutional buildings.
They just closed in type thing.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, you know, who wants to go into a room where you're all round in a circle waiting to die? It's not what you want. People are living longer and longer. Indeed. But that's not to say that they want to live in a house on their own, because they might be single or divorced or widowed. People want community, because we've lost a lot of community with the advent of technology, social media, you know, and there's a lot more mental health challenges today because of those things. You know, if you think back to our parents and our grandparents, they had no money, but they had a huge sense of community.
Indeed, yeah. I asked you that question because, like, for instance, my parent, my mum, who's still alive, my father's passed, and it's quite difficult to find her somewhere to if we was to take her from our house, because our house is quite big and she's there by herself, and we was contemplating on trying to put her into a home, but it would be just like a place where she's just in a room, and every so often she'd pop out and meet the others and then go back into a room, and I don't think that's really going to suit her, so she's better off in our house. And plus, the prices are extortionate.
Oh my gosh.
What would you be if you were to open it, how would your price range, compete in the market? Or
Well,
how do you?
oddly, I'm in the same situation that we were looking at something for my mother only in the last couple of weeks. And we did actually find a really great place that offers both the day-to-day care in the rooms, but it also has independent living in the land,
Wow,
on
that's
the
right.
land. But the independent living is £1,400 a month, all bills included.
Okay.
And whilst I absolutely agree that's still a lot of money, it's much more affordable than £1,400 a week
A week.
for the day-to-day care.
Yeah, yeah.
So so that's the sort of thing. It would be great to be able to, because in the next 10 years, we're going to have an absolute influx of older people who don't necessarily want to live in their houses on their own because the houses are too big to look after, to maintain, to heat. And people want to be with other people in the main, don't they? There is, but we're really short on houses. I mean, there are so many, we could talk about this for a million years. There are so many challenges to releasing property, to finding property. And the more people I feel like we can help by working with investors, using their money to buy property and give them a return, or buy property that they want to hold and receive an income from, then the more we're helping to get people off that horrible treadmill that we're on, give them back their dignity, and allow them to be able to go back out into society and get jobs. Because, that's what people need. And that then relieves the tax burden as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. What I was going to say to you is, how do you go about finding your properties?
So because I've been doing it for a long time and because I talk such a lot, then I know quite a lot of people. And I am more likely to stop somebody on the street than most people would. So one of the properties I got, bizarrely, I happened to be going to a viewing to look at something else. Gentleman was opposite. I asked him about another property. He told me. And then he said, we're actually selling our house. And I, cheeky as can be, said, could I possibly have a look round it?
Right.
And at first he said no. But anyway, 5 minutes later, I was in and looked around and I sold it in a week. He was absolutely thrilled because he saved money because he didn't pay any fees.
Yeah.
The investor was thrilled because they got something that wasn't on the market and it was a good price. So it was win-win for everybody. I mean, one of the things that we are really focused on is what we call tenant buyers.
Okay.
And what that does is enable a person to rent a property at a fixed price for 5 to 10 years with an agreed price to purchase the property at the end of that 5 or 10 year period.
Oh, wow. That's really good.
But they don't have any rent increases, and the price that they're buying it at never changes. So it allows them the security and stability to be able to let their children go to school, make friends, all those things that are so insecure about renting. The only dilemma we have with that model is that because we live in England, people are very skeptical and they think everything that's good must be a scam. Whereas in America, it's really common.
Let me just repeat what you just said. So you're saying you're going to have people who could buy your properties at a fixed rate for over 10 years, no price increase, no interest rates affect it. That's going to be the flat fee for 10 years. And after 10 years, they have the facility to buy the actual property that they're renting out.
You can buy it in whichever number of years they want. They could buy it in 2, they could buy it in 5, 7. Yeah, absolutely. Because we would buy the property, or an investor might buy the property, and it meets everybody's need. Because if you're an investor and you're really bothered about the new regulations that are coming in with the Renters' Rights Bill, for example, and you bought a property 10 years, 15 years ago, and you're thinking, I don't want to be in this business anymore. It's too complicated. There are too many restrictions. I'm too old. Rather than just selling it, you can do good by selling it to a tenant buyer. And the tenant then treats it as their own home. They can do whatever they like to it. They can decorate it the way they want, and they can have security. So it's a massive win-win.
That's a win-win. Yeah, that's a win-win situation. Are you the only one that's doing this so far? I've never heard of it.
No. It's an American model, but we're very slow to catch on in the UK. People think that the government schemes are wonderful because they're from the government, but actually, if you look into them, if you look at shared ownership and you look at how that is structured, very difficult for a person on a shared ownership to ever own the property. And then there's another scheme whereby they give you the deposit, but you're buying a brand new home. And whilst they might give you the 10%, the property carries on going up until the time that you buy it, and your rent carries on going up. So how do you ever find the money to be able to go through with that? You can't.
That's what used to happen on the interest mortgage only, isn't it? You used to pay the interest, but at the end of the term, you find out you haven't quite met the value of the house, and then you have to reinvest, and it caused problems. My God, what you've got there is a really good idea. I've never heard about it before, and that's a USP for you, I say. If you want to keep pushing out, where can people find you, Carol?
So people can find me at clearwaterpropertypartners.com, Facebook, Carol Neils, Instagram, Clearwater and Carol Neils, TikTok, all the usual mediums. But my website is clearwaterpropertypartners.com. And what we're looking to grow is our bank of investors. If somebody's got £20,000 and they don't have enough to get involved in property, but they want to invest their money, then we can work with a few investors to buy property that will help other people, but make them money at the same time. That's kind of our role, really. Make money for investors and provide homes for vulnerable people or people that might not ordinarily be able to help themselves.
Would you presume then that property is a great way to go or to invest in? Is that am I right to assume that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at any statistic, over 5-10 years, property always goes up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we are so short on houses in the UK. So there is a massive need. One of my concerns is that the rent is rising too high. And I believe that is a challenge because people they need to heat, eat, and live. Something has to give. So that's why I am a big advocate of the tenant buyer and the supported living models, because there you're so much more protected. You're not having to look after the house on a day-to-day basis, and your asset is growing and you're getting a return every single month. So it's a much safer model. And, you can see it's bricks and mortar. So it's really, really good. So we run a membership group, and it's cheap as chips, £40 a month. And people can join that and they can be part of our network where we can talk about how they can invest in property, how we can help them, make them accountable, provide them with a safe space to, invest their money, whether it's £10,000 or £2 million. It doesn't matter what they've got, because every little helps. Because, for example, I might get sent a deal and my money might be somewhere else. But because I'm able to buy creatively, which doesn't always constitute going out, getting a mortgage, buying a building, then there are lots of creative ways that I buy property where you don't always need lots, you just need a little bit every now and then. And people
Right.
can get involved in doing those projects with us, so they get a good return, and it's much safer. I mean, you'd get nothing, do you really, in the bank? Crypto, you've got to really understand about it. And please don't get me wrong, there are people in this space, just like every other space, that may not be the right people to work with. But we try to teach people how to do their due diligence, to be safe, to be protected, and to help them grow their money.
Because I was going to ask you, what makes, how would someone say to you, no, I don't believe you, Carol, you're talking rubbish. How would you convince me that you're not talking rubbish?
So, I mean, if we take any money off anybody, they've always got a degree of security. They've always got contracts through lawyers. They've always got other people that they can talk to get references. All those things, personal guarantees, power of attorney, everything. So we would always make sure that our clients are protected. And I would say to anybody, you know, if you're lending money to somebody, you must never, ever lend it to them without speaking to a lawyer and having a contract in place.
Right.
Because, you know, it's too easy for people to walk away with other people's money, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to make sure. So we do that. And I've been around for 20 years. And if my reputation wasn't paramount to me, I would never have paid all that money in 2019 on those projects that didn't actually belong to me.
There you go.
So, you know, and that can be proven. I think it's about longevity, because social media is a blessing and a curse. Because social media gives you lots of information and lots of access to contacts and so on and so forth, but it also belies the truth sometimes. And if you look, you'll see people, they come, they're some big shining star for 3.5 minutes, and then they're gone. But in their wake, they've lost so much. And I think that people who want to show you their shiny penny, then again, there's something for me, there's something wrong there.
Right.
Because it's not about that, is it? It's about everybody making a living and winning from each other.
Oh, brilliant.
It's not about the orange Lamborghini.
Brilliant, Carol. And you say we can find you on all social medias, yeah?
You can find me if you just put my name into Google. It'll give you lots of ways to find me. And if you look up Clearwater Property Partners, you can get in touch by sending a message through our website, Facebook, Instagram, the same. Yeah, we would love to work with any partners that are interested in investing, being involved in the property space, being involved in the supported living space, just making some money on their money.
Absolutely brilliant. Carol, you've been a wonderful guest on the Entrepreneur Insights. It's been a pleasure, guys. And if you want to invest your money in the right way with someone that's trustworthy, I recommend Carol Niels to you guys. All right, Carol, thank you very much. And take care of yourself, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you, Peter. Take care. Bye-bye.
No,
Bye.
bye. Okay.